Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be covering 4 of the games that I played on Twitch yesterday in the Opening Explorer Thursday episode that we had. Opening Explorer Thursday is basically a day where I'm going to play live with my audience openings I have never played before. In fact, I have them recommend these openings to me. So I saw some of these openings for the very first time yesterday. In this game, we are going to feature the Polish opening, the accelerated Sicilian Dragon, I don't know, there's one Worms Gambit, something like that, and I think I tried the English as well. 4 solid games. I played them in rapid time control. I lost one of those games, so it's basically 3 out of 4, which is a very good performance given that I was playing openings I had never tried before. All right, without much ado, let's jump right into it, and we'll start with the first game. The first game here was against my opponent in 1900, I think it was 1918 at the time we played this game, and my rating was, oh, this is not the first game, this was the first game, okay, very good. The first game was against my opponent, this 1800 opponent at the time, okay, and they asked me to play the Polish. So apparently 1b4 is supposed to be the Polish opening. I went 1b4, my opponent responded with knight f6, I developed the bishop, my opponent went d6 here, and in my head I thought my opponent wanted to play e5, so I decided, okay, I'm going to go here and prevent him from playing e5, right? But apparently that's not a very good move. I could have just played c4 here and developed the knight, basically transposed to a queen's gambit, right? Transpose this game to a sort of queen's gambit. But alas, Kennedy was going in the wrong direction, so I went here, and this kind of reminded me of the Maroc Z-bind opening, kind of. These pawns, where these pawns basically support a knight eventually. A knight that will probably eventually end up on that square, and that would be a very powerful piece. So I thought, okay, it can't be that bad, right? My opponent continued the development with knight d7. I went knight f3 here, just developing, continuing to control that square, maybe, right? And then he went c6. I went e4. He put his queen on this square. Apparently, my opponent wants to play this move by all means, and I developed my bishop. He gets in the move. I traded, wrong move. I think computer wanted me to, what did I do here? I think computer would have preferred if I had just ignored him and maybe castled. I think maybe castling would have been a better move here, or even just played c4 myself. Yeah, basically taking more space in the center. But I did not do that. I traded. Alas, that was wrong. My opponent won the pawn. So this is one thing. When you play weird openings, you have to keep an eye out to make sure you don't blunder material, right? If I had seen that, okay, if I take here, well, takes, and then the next move will have to be a move to defend this pawn, right? Maybe a3 or something. If I had gone c5, if he takes, I may take with the knight, I may take with the pawn, and have this pawn mass in the center here. But anyway, he took, and I just castled on impulse, forgetting about this pawn. I hung that pawn, and you are about to see the position collapse before your eyes. But at the same time, this is a lesson with playing opponents at this level. One of the things you're going to realize is that your opponents, even when they are winning or they are up material, they don't necessarily make the best moves. My opponent castled, he still has the advantage. I just kept developing my pieces. We went like this, I traded, and my opponent surprised me with, okay, first of all, he put his queen here. So I thought, wait a second, he blundered a pawn. I did not calculate. What if he takes this pawn? Takes, check. I have to move my king. He picks up the bishop, maybe with the rook, or he picks up this bishop, in which case he wins a pawn, right? The pawn right back. So I took the pawn, thinking, wait, I recover my pawn, what's the big deal? And my opponent shocked me with this brilliant move. Bishop takes e3. Brilliant move. I realized, wait, if I take back, he goes check, I move my king, he takes the bishop, I may have to take here or something. Alternatively, I thought I could bring my bishop back here, he will have to take, I will take, hitting his bishop. If he takes my bishop, I take his bishop. If he saves his bishop, I save my bishop. So I was looking at all of these possibilities here. Alas, I did not do that. I thought again, okay, what if I cut the queen off? What if I attack the queen with the pawn? But what the heck, he can just take. I said, no, if he takes, I will sack the rook. I was just thinking of fantastic things that don't make any sense. It was later on I realized this was just all foolishness on the board. But he took it, of course. I sacked the rook. As you can imagine, I thought I was doing something fantastic. I attacked the queen. He forced the queens off. You guys, by the way, I would really not want to trade queens here because I'm basically completely lost. But I didn't have a choice because my bishop is under attack. His bishop defends his queen. What can I do here? If I save my queen, where will I save my queen to? This doesn't trade the queen on my terms. He just takes the bishop. And now I have to take, right? And I'm just even lost more. So I had to trade the queens. Some of my followers are saying, don't trade the queens, but they didn't see the complications. And we traded the queens. I went here, I traded here. Basically, I said, at least let's give him a bad structure, a bad pawn structure, right? And let's claim that, okay, I'm going to be down a piece, well, down the exchange, technically. And I have healthy pawns here. There's a 3-on-1 on this side. Maybe I can make something work, right? Maybe I can make something work. Fortunately, he traded here, which was good for me. And I had an idea. He has defended this pawn. So in my head, I thought if I can immobilize these pawns, let these pawns not move, let's try to get the king over to this side. Use the bishop to anchor the pawns on this side of the board. Make sure nothing is going on the king side of the board, basically. Maybe my rook and my king could help defend against him getting a new queen on this part of the board. Of course, those are just fantastic ideas. If my opponent was serious, none of those ideas would work at all. So I put my bishop on this square, trying to hit this. Maybe I was thinking he would make a mistake and play something funny, and I would get that pawn or something of that nature. But no, my opponent defended the pawn. I retreated the bishop. My goal was to just put the bishop on this square, and my opponent allowed me get it. I defended the bishop. Again, the goal is to make sure that nothing on this part of the board can move. He went here with his rook. I finally immobilized this part of the board, which was what I wanted. He started trying to push the pawns. I put the bishop here. My goal is to win that pawn. He brought the rook there. That allowed me to take one pawn. So look at that. I brought the bishop here to take. I think he had to bring the rook. Somewhere I was thinking, can he ignore me? But he could not. He can't really ignore me because I'm going to take here with check. Computer even says to first kick this rook. Maybe he can't even bring the rook here. Where's this rook going? The rook can go here maybe. I will take here with the bishop, threatening the rook, threatening a discovery against the queen, which would be a bad move. Computer says just take with check. He will have to move his king somewhere back to the background. That will allow me to get check. He will have to move. Maybe I can pick up this pawn. But now he kind of gets his pawns rolling, right? But once I clarify this part of the board, bring this rook over, I kind of have something that looks like a counterplay. Anyway, my opponent did not allow me to do any of those. My opponent defended the pawn. I took this one and I put the bishop back. I went after this. Okay, in this position, I think my opponent began to feel that the position is not easy to win, or at least it's not as winning as it was before. He kind of saw he probably has done something wrong, and in my head I was like, oh my god, am I about to survive this? Am I about to survive this? And coupled with that, my opponent was lower on time than I was, so that was not helping him, right? And he sacrificed the rook. I was not sure if this was a good move, but I still thought he was winning. In my mind, I thought he was still winning here. And I took the rook, of course. But again, this part of the board is immobilized. The king is not going to be able to do anything here. I thought, okay, maybe he'll bring his rook like this and, I don't know, win these pawns. I think he's still winning here. If I was him, I would basically go after these pawns. If you take here, no problem, I go here. You can try pushing here. I'll pick up these pawns very easily, comfortably. Nobody's stopping that. And then, I don't know, something, right? I felt this has to still be winning for black. But alas, my opponent did not do any of those. My opponent moved this rook to defend this pawn. I moved my king, blundering also myself. Because now I could have just taken this pawn, right? But I was worried that his rook is behind this passed pawn. If my king is not within the box, right? If my king is not within the box, I think this is the box, if I remember correctly. Let's say he went here. Let's say I take this pawn and he pushes here, I go here, he pushes here, I go here, he pushes here, I go here. I'm not in time to stop this pawn. That was my big concern. So what I will have to play only moves here. And what do I play? I have to probably go with my rook here. What if I don't see that move, right? He pushes, I have to go here, he pushes, I go here. This is going to be the only way for me to blockade the pawn. And then I'm going to try to bring my king, try to push my own pawn, you know. That was the idea. Anyway, I panicked. I didn't know, I wasn't sure I was on time to stop this pawn, so I decided to bring my king. But now he's winning. He pushed the pawn, I brought my king, he came, but now he gets a chance. I wonder what would have happened if I had taken here. So as he pushed, if I had taken here, then he pushes, and now the same idea does not work because he goes here and the rook cannot come back here. You see that? So all I needed was one misstep and I lose the game. So I went all in with the king idea, and now this allows him begin to win all my pawns. For some reason, however, my opponent decided not to completely eliminate all my pawns. So I went here just doing something, right? He took the other pawn, I took this one. He went for this pawn, I came after his rook, and he brought the king. This was the crucial moment. In this position, I was like, oh my god, I think I have a trick. My idea was to go here with the rook. Now I'm realizing that was not even a good idea. My idea was to go here with the rook, give the king a check, force him back, win this rook, and maybe take one of these pawns and hope and pray that something can happen, right? But as you can see from the position, from the eval bar, this is completely lost. There's nothing I'm supposed to be able to do here. But when I went with my rook to a1, my opponent panicked and he thought, oh my god, maybe he's going to check me, distract the king, and take my rook. And because of the time pressure, my opponent blundered with this move, king g7. And this reminded me immediately of why Levy Roseman will always say, never resign. Never resign. This right here, this one move justifies the lesson you learn in your first week of learning chess. Never resign unless there's absolutely reason to do so. And so I took the rook here, and in this position my opponent resigned the game after winning for almost the entire game. After I blundered my pawn, playing an incredible game, playing a brilliant move, he went ahead to lose this game. This was fantastic, and with that we win a game in the Polish opening. Alright, now we can look at the second game. The second game, and what did I play here? This was where we played the English. This was a very sad game. This was the English, right? I played the English. I have never played the English before. 1 c4. My opponent played, I developed like this. Basically, it transposed into sort of a Queen's Gambit kind of position. Queen's Gambit declined position. I think my chart was telling me that this is beginning to look like a Grunfeld. Yeah, it looks like a Grunfeld. I decided, oh, and do you guys realize Levy Roseman, our own Levy, played into a Grunfeld literally today, and I watched Hikaru's recap of Levy's game. So I was thinking, wait, I saw this today, and Levy won with the white pieces. And in that game, I remember Levy had played e3 here. Well, it didn't, not quite the move order, but basically about the same position with the knight here. I remember Levy played e3, so I thought e3 can't be bad, right? So I played e3, my opponent struck in the center immediately, I developed the knight. What I was trying to do was basically get something that looks like the position Levy had on the board, although I didn't quite remember the details. Again, I don't play these systems. I have never, well, maybe not never, but I don't put my bishop on this square. I play 1b3 and play the Nimzolasin attack most of the time. So putting my bishop here is foreign to me. I usually put my bishop here, even if I know Hikaru puts his bishop here in some of the Nimzolasin positions. But me putting my bishop here is foreign to me. My opponent developed his bishop, I castled here, he castled, I took the pawn correctly. So far I have done everything correctly. He took back and I dropped this bishop here. Now that is a mistake. Immediately I played this move, I realized, oh shoot, because he can bring his bishop here, and I would really want to put my bishop back on this square. I would want my bishop here, not here. This is not the London system. I'm not planning on sacrificing this bishop anytime soon. Maybe I should have also tried. I was also considering playing for e4 here, but I was not sure. Takes. There's not enough. I need a rook on this file to do that. But either way, I retreated the bishop. Bad move. My opponent pinned my knight. I kicked the bishop and I took on this square. Now, this is where disaster begins to unfold. I thought, okay, what if I go g4? I was worried that my opponent is going to play knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, knight, sacrificing the knight, pawn takes, bishop takes, and then I have to figure out how to defend that position. And I will tell you guys, I have nightmares about that position. But I should have known that, well, this pawn is going to be hanging, right? So if I play g4 and he goes knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, I will be able to take this pawn with the queen. If he trades the queens, then no problem. He can take the knight, but he already sacrificed the knight, right? So that's, but actually, yeah, and when that trade happens, his bishop will be under attack, I'll be able to move my knight. I should have seen that that is a possible line I could have gone for. I did not. Alas, he took with the bishop. I wasted a move like a horrible chess player that I can be sometimes, and he wasted one as well. We just kept bantering back and forth, playing ridiculous chess, and my opponent played this move. Now at this point, I brought my king here. I think a better move would have been maybe to bring my king here, or maybe to take this knight. I considered taking this knight and damaging the structure. I don't know why I did not do it earlier. Computer said exactly that bishop takes is actually the best move, so this was the best move in this position. Damage his structure, open up his king a little bit, and maybe now I can play my king to this square, bring my rook to the open file and try to do something. Computer also says in this position I can even go here, force him back, trade off this bishop as well, maybe not even the bishop, bring the knight into the game. You see, I'm thinking one step too slow. Maybe I was concerned about him creating a battery here that I will always have to be concerned for, be looking out for. Anyway, I did not do any of those. I ignored all my chances to get counterplay. I kept playing like a tool, and then this was the crucial point. I was beginning to feel so much pressure down my king side. And this is where computers are way better than human beings. Computers don't have emotions. A computer does not look at this and think, wow, there's a lot of pressure on his king side. There's a lot of pressure here. The computer just says it's nonsense. Keep playing chess as normal. There's nothing going on here. But alas, I'm not a computer. I think if I'm a human, as a human being, I should have put my knight on this square, maybe, or even that square, to challenge the queen, exactly, and force this knight out of the way. And if he doesn't do anything, maybe he'll move his queen. I would not trade the knight. I can move my own. Wait, I can even take a pawn here. So he will have to keep his queen somewhere. If he keeps his queen on this diagonal, then I will take. Because when he takes, I can take here. Oh, this was the same problem I had before. So I cannot ever take this knight. I could not ever take the knight. I will have to move my own queen out of the way first. I think, something like that. Or computer says I could even go here, but it is only this knight guarding this square though. This is risky. I would not want to play like this. I was very concerned about this battery reform here. Look at that, computer doesn't care. Anyways, I didn't do any of that. I took the bishop, I took the knight like a fool, and he took back. I thought, oh, smart, I'm going to trade the queens now. Unfortunately, he has an in-between move, bishop takes knight, check. And the bishop is defended by the pawn, meaning that I'm basically just down a piece. I moved my king, he took with the rook. I tried to do something, nothing was working. And by the way, there was a tactic here that I missed. I could have taken, sorry. I could have taken this one, and when he takes, I would take the knight, and at least I'll be down material, but it would be just 2 points value of material. I should have played like this actually, but I did not do that, alas. I brought my rook, further worsening my loss, and in this position I knew I could resign, but I knew I should resign here. I was just trying to keep the game going somehow, and he managed to trade off the piece, trade off even more material, and there was basically nothing I could do here. I would end up, I tried to win back some pawns, I tried to fight back, I tried to set up this little cheeky checkmate trick, and it did not work. In fact, I walked into some problems myself. I kept trying to see if I could swindle him. My opponent, my viewers were screaming, swindle him, swindle him. But there was really no swindle here. We traded, my opponent came, he played pretty well. He did not fall for any of the tricks I was trying to set up. I was trying to see if he was going to let me, where was that position? In this position, yes. I was trying to see maybe he's going to make one careless move, allow me get a check, and I will win a rook. There's even another rook here to be won. I was thinking of those fantastic ideas, but none of that was meant to be. My opponent did not make mistakes. My opponent played precisely, and the game, after a while I knew, and he had more than enough time on the clock. He was up 1 minute on the clock. There was nothing I could do here, and ultimately I decided that I had had enough. My opponent successfully made a queen. I sacked the rook for the queen, and there's nothing I can do here, so I resigned this game, and this would be our first loss for the evening. Our rating was coming up, and guess what, you guys? This is the highest my rapid rating has been. So it's very interesting that when I play rapid time controls, even when I play bad openings or openings I'm not familiar with, I still perform better than I would typically perform, right? And I think that when I play weird openings, I am a little more cautious, and I don't try to stick to any principles I have learned or any move order kind of thing. I try to play objectively because I don't know anything about the opening, so I'm playing objectively from the beginning to the end, right? And maybe I play better chess that way, but we'll find out, we'll see. Alright, we jump to the third game right here. On this third game, was this the game we already saw? Yeah, we already saw this game. This was the English. Sorry about that. This was the English. Or did I play 2 games in the English? Oh, that's sad. Okay, I think we'll look at this. This was the last game for the evening. Let's look at this last game. I played, my opponent started with d4, and my fans told me to play c5, going into the old Benoni defense. You guys, I know not what this is, but I played it. My opponent went d6. I'm so glad that my opponent went d5. I'm so glad d6 was the correct move. I was not sure what to play here, but I knew, this has to be the correct move, right? He went here with his bishop, and I did this. I know in the Benoni, well, maybe regular Benoni or something, you're supposed to fianchetto this bishop. I did, and I remember playing this kind of position against a FIDE master from Nicaragua when I was in Venezuela last year. I remember a position like he crushed me. We were having a fun game in the lobby after our chess matches, and we decided to play some chess, and I played something that looked like the Benoni against him, but with my bishop on this square to support this pawn push. I didn't think I was playing the Benoni, I was just playing something, right? And the game continued like this. My opponent just came in for the attack. He just traded everything. Now, I thought I was in trouble. You guys, this is another very important thing to learn in chess. In this position, I felt like I was already in a lot of trouble here, because I was thinking, wait a second, he's going to swing his queen over. What is going on with my king here? I wasn't sure what was happening, right? And my opponent surely swung his queen over to the other side of the board. I brought my bishop out because I didn't want my bishop to be here. I was worried the queen will land if I bring my bishop back or here. I don't know. I wasn't sure what was going on. So I brought the bishop out trying to escape. I brought the bishop back. Apparently, I should have put the bishop on this square. I thought the queen could still come here, but I forgot my knight actually now guards that square. I allowed him trade here. I went here trying to trade the queens because I thought to myself, surely if we traded queens, this position is closed. There's not much happening on the board. My pawn structure is pretty decent. I could try to draw this game. I'm sure I could draw the game. And my opponent is 1900, so I'm worried, oh my god, this guy's going to kill me. Okay, but he refused the queen trade, so clearly he thought he had something better. And I blundered with this queen move here, thinking if he takes, I'm going to trade the queens. But there's a downside. If he takes and I trade the queens, he takes with check. If I move my king somewhere, he takes again. So he's going to be up a pawn at least. And I wasn't sure if that was what I didn't sign up for that, right? That was not what I signed up for. Anyway, luckily he did not take, because clearly he did not want to trade queens. He pushed the pawn, and I was supposed to take here, but I was a little worried. If I take and he takes, he gets these 2 pawns. I don't think I want to deal with that, although I have this pawn though. Anyway, the game continued. I developed my knight. I castled my king in this position. A decision I think I was actually happy with, because it allowed my rook come into the game, and this part of the board was kind of solid. Maybe he can do something here, but I didn't see it. He played this move, I played this. I was trying to just keep this part of the board closed, make sure that there's nothing. He cannot suddenly bring his pieces to this side, and then I will start running with my king like a fool. So he pushed, he took this one, and I went here. He finally agreed to trade queens and took on this one. This was my last chance to fight for a draw. Take the knight, give him doubled pawns, and then defend your pawn, put this guy here. But I had a problem. I rejected this idea because I felt if I take the knight, yes, he's going to have doubled pawns, but I have this isolated pawn here, number one. My knight has no jumps. These pawns actually kind of stop my knight from jumping. I don't know if that's a smart idea or that's a smart move on my end. This pawn is on a light square. He can find a way to bring his bishop to attack this pawn here. Like, I was seeing a lot of ghosts. I don't know if they were ghosts. I was seeing a lot of ways for my opponent to win, and I wasn't seeing how I would win. So I didn't go for that idea. Instead, I defended this pawn, and I brought my rook to the center. My grand idea initially was, okay, you know what, in this position, I'll just go here, but I realized if he can take, if I take, he could even take back, but I don't think he should take back. He can even take my bishop as an in-between move. And if I save my knight, I don't know. Can I really save my knight here? He can take a pawn. I can take his bishop. He can take a pawn. I don't know. It felt to me like this wasn't making a lot of sense. Right? Or he can even go here with a check. And I guess I can chase him. Computer says to just... Oh, it's not even a check. He will just take my bishop. Oh, I see. That would have not been very smart for him. Anyway, I thought that all of these were not very fantastic ideas. So I decided to save my rook, and I thought I needed to keep a rook on the board. But this blunders a pawn as well. He did not take it. He saw the boogeyman, he saw the fork, and he rejected the idea. So I went with my knight here. My idea is to put the knight on this square, cut the rook off, and win this pawn. And I did just that. He went here with his rook. I won the pawn. He tried to win this pawn back. I went here. He put his knight. Now, I was worried about his knight capturing. I was worried about his knight capturing my knight, but this would have not been a bad idea, because if he captures my knight, I take with the bishop. My bishop defends the pawn. If he takes, that wouldn't be good for him. So maybe that was a good idea, but Kennedy doesn't think straight sometimes. I traded here, blockaded the pawn. He checked me, he took here, I took here, and he defended the bishop this way. Okay, I brought my bishop out to attack the pawn. I was like, okay, I'm just going to win this pawn. I'll be up a pawn. I don't know if it's winning. It looks like a draw, but who knows? But he didn't want to have any of that. He went here, attacked this pawn, and I had to defend the pawn. And then he went check, forced me to trade like this. And this was very smart from him, because now 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 pawns for each side, and his rook, well, his pawn is kind of a pass pawn. And you will see why that is important. I traded here, and I started trying to get my pieces into the game. I wanted my one big plan here. My one big plan was if I could get my king to this side of the board, right? If I get my king here, and support the a4 pawn push, then if we trade, my king infiltrates here, in which case I think I would be winning because this pawn is never going anywhere. But I allowed his king walk in here, which was a stupid decision. And at this point I was like, okay, let's make a draw. I'm willing to make a draw with my opponent if he's going to accept a draw. But my opponent was not going to take a draw. We repeated once, twice, and he refused to make the draw. He went here with his king, in which case I gave a check, and I went here with my king. He went here, I pushed the pawn, trying to get this break because I knew if I get this pawn break, once my king is here, I have to have something, right? Counterplay of some sort. He went after my rook. He tried to push his pawns. I took, I went here, and I took the last pawn. Now, this was the position I knew that, okay, there's only two possibilities here. Either I win, or it's a draw, or I'm going to have constipation and then I lose. I thought my opponent should put his rook on g4 to make sure that this pawn is going to become a queen unopposed. He did not do that, and he allowed me get this. You guys, I can't tell you how many times I've seen positions like this. I know for sure that a king and two pawns without the support of the king against a rook is a win. And I was telling chat this on stream. I just started pushing my pawns. He queened, I took the queen, I don't care. And these pawns are going to become queens. I made a queen. And in this position, my big opponent resigned the game. And we won a very nice game playing the old benoni. I know we probably did nothing correct in the benoni, but we played 1c5 and we were able to get a win. So this was a very fantastic gameplay. There is one game I think I had missed. Laruco Studio, Waltz Lambo, and weak player. Okay, my opponent calls himself a weak player. That's interesting. So we missed one game. The very first game of the evening, I'll show you guys, and this will be the final game for this video. This was a game against Atom Chess, my first opponent, and my opponent asked the viewers asked me to play the Sicilian accelerated drag, or the drag on Sicilian. But my opponent decided that he's going to play the Smith-Morra Gambit. I said, oh my goodness, the best player in St. Vincent plays Smith-Morra Gambit, and he wins most of the time, if not all the time. So I accepted the Gambit, and I was playing accelerated dragon, right? All the moves of accelerated dragon. Okay, we came out of the opening. I'm not worse. He's down a pawn, but you can see that the position is equal. And there's nothing worse than being down a pawn and the computer saying the position is equal. It's just ridiculous. Here, I was considering going d5, but I thought that loses a pawn because I don't know how to count, and I did not realize that his own pawn will be hanging at the end. So I took with the knight. My opponent had a big miss. This was an opportunity to play a great move, sacking the rook. If I take, queen jumps in, and how am I stopping this attack? But I'm glad my opponent missed it. He did not sack the rook. I gave him an opportunity to do it once again. I think, does it still work? No, it doesn't work anymore. Okay. I kicked the knight out, the knight moved, and I brought my knight back. Basically, I was trying to reinforce this knight and reinforce the d5 pawn push. He went back with the bishop. I kicked out the knight. I developed my bishop. Now, this was wrong as well. I should not have played this. I think I should have shoved this pawn further down the board, maybe. Taking up more space, the pawn is defended sufficiently. This knight can come over here, then I can bring the bishop out and stuff like that. Anyway, I did not do that. I developed my bishop. I didn't like this bishop staring down my king like this. He went here, and I decided to give up the bishop. Once again, I have blundered, right? I have given him back a pawn. I was up 2 pawns at this point, but he saw this cool tactic here, taking the pawn, so that when I recapture, if I recapture the bishop, he will take my knight. But apparently, that is not. I'm already winning. Look at this position. The computer says I was winning. I decided to take the bishop. He took my bishop. I wanted to take the rook, but I wasn't sure about all of these shenanigans, right? He's going to move with discovery, and I wasn't sure what was going on. So I decided to take the bishop. He took my knight. I went for a queen trade. He rejected it, and I developed my knight. You guys, in this position, as you can see from the computer, I am completely winning. This is a completely winning position for black, but I did not know this. I felt I was in trouble for some weird reason. I wasn't sure why. Was I worried about my pawn structure? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still up a pawn. Why am I so scared? My opponent went here. I went here with my knight. I was seeing a lot of good moves. My idea was, look, if he moves this rook, I will attack the queen. My queen and my rook bear down on this knight, right? So if he moves the rook, I attack the queen. What can happen? He brings the queen to he can't even bring the queen to defend the knight. There's basically no way. My queen will take this knight and I'll be winning. He moved, I did that. Wrong. This probably might have even been a better move. Oh, but that's not a good move because the rook takes and defends the knight. First of all, I didn't even realize that. But I could have also taken the tactical sharpness. I was not tactically smart at all. I could have sacked the rook, and when he takes, I go check, discover check. The queen cannot block because, well, the knight takes, the queen takes, so it does not work. But alas, I missed my one chance to completely destroy my opponent here, and I went back here. Attacking the queen, yes. Attacking the knight, yes. But there is a move. The queen went here with check first. Okay, you guys, this is something you should not do. Do not voluntarily pin yourself, right? Here I thought it was a smart idea. Okay, I'm going to rook lift, pin myself momentarily, but that will allow me double my rooks. So I did that. Alternatively, I could have played any of these other moves. Not this one because that hangs a knight, but this one perhaps. So my opponent went here, defending the knight. Now all my ideas are basically fizzling away. I doubled the rooks as I planned. He swung his rook over. I think here I could have still gone here. This was always an option. Always an option. If I got this move in, it doesn't matter what he does. If he tries to kick the knight out, I take here. If he takes with the rook, I take. If he moves, you know this is a very basic checkmate. I did not even look at it. Everything was just perfect. But alas, Kennedy did not do any of those. Instead of me to unpin, I retreated the knight. And my simple idea was, well, this knight is pinned, but if I retreat my knight, if I get my knight to this square, I'll hit the queen, I'll hit the knight, everything bears on the knight here. So how is he solving his problems? My opponent took the pawn. And I said, oh my god, I have blundered. Oh my god, I have blundered. But did I really blunder though? Was it really a blunder? Come to think of it, it was not a blunder at all. Why? Because what the heck, my opponent has in fact blundered. I did not take the knight. Oh my god, you cannot believe this. I did not take the knight. Instead, I moved my knight here, and my big idea was, oh, what's there? If he takes my queen, let me show you guys something. Okay, if he takes my queen, I take his queen. Right, hitting the rook. So if he takes my knight, I take this rook, and my opponent, well, he decided to take my rook here, and I took with the knight. I should have taken with the rook, so that when he takes my queen, I take this way. If he trades the knight, we keep equal pawns basically on the board, and the position is going to be a draw, which is very sad given that I was completely winning. But we did it this way. I took with the knight, and I had to take this way and damage my pawns. And now we don't have an equal position. I have a worse endgame with 4 pawn or 3 pawn islands, 4 pawns, but these 2 are stacked on each other, and all my pawns are scattered all over the place. Very difficult to defend this type of endgame. When you go into an endgame, you don't want your pawns to look like this. This is terrible stuff. Anyways, we started playing the endgame. We are going to see how masterfully my opponent can convert an endgame. My opponent did that. I kept bringing my pieces. He won a pawn. Now I am basically lost, right? This is the thing with having all these pawn islands. They are incredibly difficult to defend. But we'll see what happens. My opponent took that. I said, okay, at least I get this one. He went here. Look at that sad rook. Now he can just walk his king. My opponent needs to do absolutely nothing here. He needs to just walk his king. Walk the king, escort these pawns, trade for this one, and then walk your king over here and win the game. That's all my opponent needs to do. So the magic began. My opponent kept moving his rook. He won a pawn. I defended the last pawn. But you will see something happen here. Okay. Here, my opponent decided to give me a check. Now, this was simply a bad move. This was just a very bad move. Because I went here with my king. He went check, and I went here. Now, I am basically threatening checkmate in this position, right? The only thing stopping it is that my opponent has this rook. So, my opponent pushed the pawn. And in this position, I realized, wait a second. I still thought it was a draw, but one person's king is iffy, right? I could have gone check. I didn't even calculate this. Check, blocks, takes, king here, takes, and I have an extra pawn, and my king is in time to walk, take this pawn while his king tries to take this one, and I will make a queen for sure. But my opponent did not do that. My opponent went here. I decided, okay, let me take the pawn. Again, now it's become a draw. He pushed, I took the second pawn, he pushed here, I went here. Now we have a game. I went here threatening mate again. He went check, he went here, I pushed, and I went check, and I pushed again. Now in this position, I was beginning to feel very good. I was thinking, I might actually be able to checkmate my opponent here if he allows me. Maybe, let's see. He kept checking, and I decided to hide my king on this square. Now I knew, okay, there's nothing he can do anymore, right? I'm going to go check. I'm going to put my king here and push this pawn and make a queen. And I went check. I pushed the pawn. And there's no way, if you look at this, there's no way for my opponent to stop me from making a queen. Alas, from a winning position in the middle game to a lost position in the end game, somehow the game turned around, and with the Sicilian accelerated dragons, or Smith-Morgan gambit, whichever one you want to call it, I managed to also get a win. And by the end of last night, my rapid rating was at the highest it has ever been, 1894. If I had not lost that one game in the English opening, I think I would have been 2000. I would have been 1900 already, but by now. And that is it. This is the incredible game I played yesterday in Opening Explorer Thursday. Every Thursday, you guys, I play new openings I have not tried before. I will look them up during the stream, learn one or two things about them, and just play a game in that opening. If you want to join the stream, make sure to go on Twitch. It's Uche Kennedy X. You can find it on Twitch. Follow the stream. We stream every day at about 8 p.m. EST. And if you want to play chess with other chess players, you want to have fun playing chess, you want to play Variant Friday, for example. Today is Friday, and we are going to be having Variant Friday tonight, where we are going to have 4-player chess, and you're going to be playing against other players. It's very exciting. I invite you to join Variant Friday for sure. And to join the stream on one of these days, give me your recommendations on openings you would want me to play, openings you would want me to try, and let's have fun learning chess together. All right, thank you so much for watching, you guys. Make sure to subscribe down below and turn on the notification bell so that you know when new videos are uploaded. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.